Let's have a little look through the Failing Writers fan mail while we're waiting for the show to start. There's a bill, junk mail, no longer at this address, Wix catalogue. Bill. Okay, that's all of it. Welcome to the Failing Writers podcast.
Hello, my little word massagers.
We said we'd be back, didn't we? We said,
we'd
be back.
We'd be back.
And we're here.
We
If nothing else, we're true to our word, yeah.
Absolutely.
Let's get stuck in straight away. Let's not mess about. Let's lay it straight out on the table. What have we been doing with our time? Davey, I don't want to pick on you, but you mentioned you wanted to do some writing.
You did. You promised. You promised.
You promised.
I promised I would do
that
some,
happen?
and lo and behold, I have done so.
Yes.
Finally, so, this really, the chapter of doom that I've been stuck on for all this time, I finally got stuck into it. Do you know what? You say that, the day before I actually did something on it, I came up with a way of not having to do it.
Oh, you did the, how can I avoid this at all costs?
Yes,
That's brilliant.
I really
wrote
did.
Around it.
I actually sent myself an email whilst I was
wow.
out so that I had the note ready on my computer saying, just get rid of this chapter and just have the people refer to it in the subsequent chapter instead. And I was like, no,
genius.
you can't.
It all happened off stage.
Yeah.
yeah. People
That's
just
brilliant.
mention
A little
it.
bit of exposition. Bob's your uncle. Yeah.
So Tom saying you joking about you deleting it was pretty.
came
That's pretty
close.
much what happened.
I
Brilliant.
came really. If I'd have been in instead of not in at the time, I would have just gone right, sod it. And then by the time I got home, I was like, no, I can't do that because you've got a show, don't tell, all that sort of stuff. And yeah, then I thought, you know what? I really just need to plan this chapter out properly because I did like planning of the book, but I hadn't done like a detailed plan of exactly what was going to happen in this chapter. It was all there in my head, but I'd not written it down. So that's what I did. I thought,
we're still talking about the Spooky War book.
Still
right?
talking about Spooky War book after all this time. So yeah, I sort of planned the beats of the chapter out in more detail, and it was like, right, there we go. That's easy now. Now I've just got to fill in the gaps. I've actually got to write between the beats are quite small. So
And did it work?
it did, yeah. Because the great thing is that once I'd kind of written that down, what had happened is I'd blown it up into such magnificent proportions in my head. It was just this massive dark cloud hanging above me. And then when I actually sort of just plotted it out, it was like, actually, there's not that much that needs to happen, really. It's really not that big or frightening at all. So I just got on with it.
Oh, that's good news, man. Good news.
I mean, I'm not saying it's any good or anything, but you know.
Tom, have you ticked off any more of your to-do list?
Let's go to you first, John.
Okay. I have sent my crime novel to a very good friend of mine who is a member of the police force, who is very kind.
You said you were going to do that. Yeah.
So I've done that.
And
he's...
this is you're calling from prison because you've been arrested for crimes to literature. Is that right?
Yeah. Because I was going to say he's checking it for inaccuracies, but that would be the wrong term, I think. He's checking it for complete...
checking it for accuracies.
Because that'll be a lot quicker.
Exactly. But literally every time I think about it now, I feel a little bit sick and also embarrassed.
Yeah.
A bit like you just exposed yourself in public. Yeah.
Have you had any feedback from him yet or not?
Not really. He did send me a thing, but it was like the day after I sent it to him, and he just put enjoying the book.
Oh.
And I don't know if he's just kind of teasing me because he might do that. So get my hopes up. Just made me feel even more sick, to be honest, to read that. So I don't know what. Yeah. Anyway. I'm trying not to think about it. Let's move on to Tom. Tom,
what are you going to do when he comes? What are you expecting back from him? And honestly, what do you think you'll get back from him?
I mean, I feel a bit sorry for him. I did say I'll pay him because I do think it's going to be a vast task. I think there's going to be so much stuff.
No, but genuinely, what's your honest gut opinion? Like, do you think it'll be miles off or not?
I think he'll be kind. I also think he'll take the piss a bit. But I'm hoping he'll come on the podcast.
Oh,
and
that'd
talk
be
about
good.
it.
That'd be good.
I think that might be quite fun. And do this live.
Oof.
But do you think he'll do it in a dispassionate way of like, not passing judgment on the quality of the content, just purely and simply about the...
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I think he'll... Yeah, I really don't know. I think he'll be honest because he's a very honest person. So, just making me feel sick again. Yeah.
It's difficult, isn't it? Because if he comes back and goes, it's really, really good, but there are just a few slight issues with the police procedure. That's manageable, isn't it?
Oh my God,
if he
that's
comes
the
back
dream.
and says,
but that's not going to happen.
But if he says every single thing that you've said about it, you spot on, perfect. The police would do that. They would do everything in the same order, in the same way. Trouble is, it's just shit. That would be harder to
that
take.
Would kill
wouldn't
me.
it?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But he might say that. I don't know. I genuinely, it's like when you write something and when it's 100,000 words, you literally lose the plot after a while. I mean, there are bits of it I can't even remember writing.
Wow.
So, who knows? Honestly, who knows?
It's a big bit of your life. It's a big chunk of your brain, John, isn't it? that can't be used for anything else.
In the first place. Yeah.
Exactly. That bit of your brain that you've used for that, you can't use that for anything else now. That's done.
That's done.
That's gone.
Cooked.
Yeah.
Sad, isn't it?
Are you ready to stop talking about this yet, John? Or are you cool? Are you happy?
Yeah, can we do that? Yeah, Tom, have you ticked off some more of your to-do list?
Well, the trouble is, I haven't really been doing any writing since we last talked because I've been too busy publishing my 2-hour sales Bible, my silly little sales book.
Oh, come on. You haven't actually published it.
So it is now available as paperback, hardback, Kindle edition, and audiobook.
What?
That was sneaky.
Thought I'd keep it secret.
That's amazing. And so if I go on Amazon now, and is it written by Chad Nadsworthy?
Chad Nadsworthy, yeah. So if you put 2-hour sales Bible into Amazon, so it's it's there.
From the world's best-selling author of Hey, Did You Eat My Chair? And Dig Out Your Mind Nuggets trademark.
So that's ticked off the list.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, I don't think Tom can be on this podcast anymore.
What, as a successful published author?
Yeah?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. I don't think you qualify.
I think I probably still do.
To be a host.
I think I will soon have the figures to prove it that I belong on the podcast too.
No, that's brilliant, Tom. Well done, man.
Yeah, well
done.
Uh,
Was it painful to do? To do all that stuff, was it actually quite easy in the end?
It was. There was a few little bumps along the road, but I mean, I'm relatively computer savvy, so it was reasonably straightforward. The Amazon's bits of software and stuff are fine, functional, not massively user friendly in places, but easy enough to get around. So it took quite a while in different bits. It took a while to do the audiobook in terms of...
I've done an audiobook.
Done the what?
Yeah. Well, I mean, why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I?
Exactly.
Yeah, it would make sense.
Good point.
Oh, and I did have some teething troubles getting it to, like, on the final click to say, right, yes, go ahead, publish it. And it came back with a big red box on the Amazon, on the KDP Amazon thing. I was like, oh, shit, what was that? So I was looking online saying, well, it could be the yen value because you put in how much you want to sell it for, and it tells you how much you can, and blah blah blah, and then it converts it all through to different currencies. And it said, sometimes it puts the yen value below what actually can be to go over break even. So you need to change that. I thought, all right, I'll change that. Nope, still did it. I'd only bloody accidentally ticked the box that said it had sexually explicit front cover, didn't I? I spent hours going through everything going, well, is it because I slightly changed the title before I got the ISBN number? Is that it? I'll try and change that back. Oh, no, what's the... Oh, right, no, I put that it was had some kind of weird pornographic front cover on it. And it doesn't, it's just got words on there. So I'll change that. Oh, look, it's published. Yeah. So, no, apart from that, it was pretty straightforward. It was quite a good little exercise, actually, in the whole thing, because I figured I want just to, wasn't fussed about it. I just wanted, like we said before, part of it, I just get it out, get it done.
Get it done.
But, it was quite an enjoyable little process overall.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Have you, when you were doing the audiobook, have you always had a specific voice for Chad Nadsworthy in your mind, like as you were writing it? And is the voice of the audiobook the same as the voice you've always had in your head?
Yeah, it pretty much is, really. It's
I've heard Chad, definitely.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. Oh, you know what we should do? I mean, I'll say if you don't, guys. Thanks anyway. We should play a little clip now.
We should hear a bit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, let's hear it, Tom. Play now.
Warning! The following clip involves actions that the Failing Writers podcast do not condone, and also imagery and language which some may find offensive. Hopefully. Otherwise, frankly, there's something wrong with you.
an excerpt from the 2-Hour Sales Bible by Chad Nadworthy, now available in all formats on Amazon. Acted by Tom Turner. So, after a successful sales career selling everything from baking machinery to double glazing to cars that I didn't really have the right to sell, around the early 2000s, I had somehow found my way into media sales. The worlds of radio and TV were exciting. Cutthroat hives of hard sales and sexy messaging. And sexy sales and hard messaging. And hard, sexy and sales messaging. Clients were easy to loosen up with the glamour and razzmatazz of the media world. And coke. Yeah, that certainly helped too. However, I think this will be the right time to point out that I'm not a big fan of drugs of any kind, after those few tough years being hooked on crinkle. For me, sales is now the only drug that turns me on. Other than those little blue pills, but I don't use those. Ever. Obviously. I'm not even sure why you brought that up. To me, it seemed like this was a world of endless possibilities. A bottomless pit of all-you-can-eat open doors. Doors so metaphorically open that in many ways they were simply archways without an actual door in them. Imagine that. In the olden days of sales, we'd talk about getting your foot in the door. Now, there were no fucking bloody doors. This, my friend, was like the Wild West and being a 1920s stick-up artist at the same time. I was Billy the Kid and Boney M. Clyde rolled into one. Of course, as you probably know, it all eventually ended up with me knee-deep in Her Majesty's porridge. But for a time, we had it all sewn up. It was the perfect sales gig. Apparently, my publishers tell me, I still am not allowed to tell you how it actually all worked, as that would be breaking my release conditions, which they would be partially liable for. And after the hoo-ha to-do and general kerfuffle about that book they published with a 10-step guide of how to trick tramps into letting you wank them off, they don't want to get in bother with the law again, which, I have to say, is ridiculous because, in my experience, the tramps love it.
Very nice, Tom. And some pretty powerful social commentary there as well.
Raising awareness of homelessness, yeah. Very much so.
Very nice. Very nice. Looking forward to listening to all of that.
Yep.
You do that, dare you?
Nice one, Tom. Well, congratulations.
But back to what John was saying is that weird thing of getting it out there and go, oh, fuck, people could actually just read that now. That's uncomfortable.
Do you feel a little bit sick as well?
Because, well, I think particularly with this one, because it's kind of, well, they say this is what you're meant to do. Write what you want to write. You know, don't try and write for other people. But I think I do think everyone listening should go out and buy it. Obviously, I mean I'd be silly not to, just to see what they think. But yeah, obviously it's not for everyone. It will tickle certain people, and other people will think, "What the hell is this?" I told my mum, I said, "Oh yes, I've done this," and she went, "Oh, I'll tell everyone at church to buy it." I was like, no, mum, no.
Maybe the next book, Mum. Maybe the next.
Maybe when the kids' book comes out. Not sure this one's so much what you want to. Yeah, not your church buddies. No,
wrong crowd.
Yeah, not the target market.
Can you imagine next week's sermon? Bloody hell. Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, yeah.
That's amazing.
Well done, Tom.
Thank you. And do you know what was lovely as well? Getting the so I got a pre-copy thing, paperback, to see what do you want to check how it's set out? Just what I did, because I made some really stupid errors of layout. God, it's just lovely holding that in your hands, like a physical copy.
And that has been in your head for how many years now, Tom? 20 something?
Not far off, yeah.
It must be,
Probably about 20 years.
Ultimately, what you're saying is you haven't written anything this week.
No, I haven't.
I've
been,
well, you've really let us down, Tom.
Yeah, that's a bit poor, really.
I wrote the little blurb thing for that. So does that count?
Oh, there you go.
150 words or something. That'll do, won't it?
Last question before we move on and talk to Samuel.
Oh, yeah, with his best-selling book, yeah. Way to rain on my parade, Samuel.
The book that went into the Sunday Times best-selling list at number 5. Are you going to leave that Tom Turner author, or are you going to create a new name so that when your children's books appear in their amazing series on Amazon, that won't be at the top? Or are you just going to shove it all together?
I'd thought about that. I just wanted, obviously, it not to be completely random there, and so people to be able to join the dots. But yeah, no, I think if I do go down doing kids, I would have a different name anyway.
Slightly separate them.
Because partly because Tom Turner is such a stupidly common name. There's loads of different random books by different random people.
Yeah.
Landscape design theory and methods. I mean, that's not really.
That's one of my favourites, actually, of all time.
There's a Tom Turner that writes Charlie Crawford Palm Beach Mysteries. That one's 16.
There is a voiceover actor as well, isn't there?
Yeah, there's
another one called
it's
Tom
kind
Turner,
of there's quite a lot of knocking around. So, the best Australian stories by a completely different Tom Turner.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, so there's a lot of different ones. So yeah, I don't think I'd be. I'd have to come up with a pen name for that.
You need a silly name.
Yeah, you need a kid-friendly name. Yeah.
Right, shall we finally now talk to Samuel Burr and find out about the Fellowship of Puzzlemakers?
Yeah,
which is his cozy mystery, family, friendship, drama, romance thing.
So the Fellowship of Puzzlemakers is the book, isn't it? Your debut novel.
Yes. Yeah.
How long was that rattling? Is that an idea you've had for a long time? Then you were saying about how getting the ideas out there.
I would say so. I would say that it was probably a few years in the making. I mean, it's difficult. I kind of try and work out when was the moment I came up with the idea, and it's one of those things where there wasn't just like this sort of light bulb moment, but actually, I guess one of the things I could sort of talk about, which is I think was definitely relevant, is that I got my job in television because I made a documentary when I was a student inside a retirement village.
Yes.
So actually, I was 17 and I actually moved into the retirement village with me and my mate in the summer holidays, and we just sort of spent some time with some of the residents.
That sounds perfectly normal.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So you moved in and then thought we might as well make a documentary while we're here. Or you moved in to do
cheap rent.
We had the cameras, and we had everything ready, but it was called Whiteley Retirement Village, and it was kind of an amazing place because it brought together some really incredible people. Basically, it's set up by a charity, and so I think at the time it was the only sort of retirement community in the country that was sort of means tested. So it wasn't available to everyone, and actually it was for people that didn't have the money to pay for their own care. But it was like a sort of mini centre park. There was like, there wasn't quite go-karting, but there was there was bowls, there was a drama club, there was a church, there was a pub, there was a restaurant.
Presumably everything wasn't staggeringly expensive.
It was very reasonably priced as well, and it was enormous fun. And actually, the thing that I found particularly sort of funny about the whole experience was that as a 17-year-old, I've always been a sort of bit of a young fogey, really. I've always, identified with older people. And what I thought I found was funny was that actually I was exhausted because their social life was just full on. They were doing something every day. If they weren't doing dance classing, they were in the pub playing darts, and actually, by the end of it, I was absolutely exhausted. And I said, God alive, I just want to go home and, just put my feet up. And so that got me my foot in the door of television. And also it's sort of been lingering in the back of my head as a sort of idea. And so, that obviously has played a part as well in the fellowship.
Yeah, quickly tell us about the idea.
So it's the story of a young man called Clayton Stumper.
Yeah.
And he is this sort of young man who's grown old before he's grown up. So he, like me, is a bit of a young fogey. He sort of dresses like your granddad and drinks sherry like your aunt, that sort of type. Yeah. And at 25, he sort of finds himself as one of the sort of last surviving members of this very British institution, which is a community of puzzle makers. It's a sort of commune where he was abandoned at birth, made up of some of the most brilliant minds in the country, some of the cleverest people. So we've got a maze maker, a quiz setter, a jigsaw artist. But there's a mystery at the heart of the fellowship, which is how he came to live there. And that's the sort of puzzle they've yet to solve. And that's, that becomes the thrust of the story, is following Clayton when the founder of the fellowship passes away and he's bequeathed this final puzzle, which promises to sort of reveal the mystery of his past. Yeah. So we follow Clayton on a quest as he sort of pieces together the clues and finds himself at the same time.
And the puzzle thing, does that come from you as well then? Is that a passion?
Yeah, you were a cruciverbalist yourself. I only learnt what that word means today, so I thought I might as well use it.
I would say that I'm a sort of puzzler in the sense that I enjoy puzzles like most people, but I'm not a professional puzzle maker, and that has been the sort of the biggest challenge of all of this book.
That's what I was going to say, because I was about to say you must love puzzles, because otherwise you'd be stupid to do something like this in a book, because it would be really, really hard.
The truth is, I watched a documentary on, like most of my ideas, I watched a documentary on BBC4 that sort of inspired it. And it was one of those late night sort of Saturday evening sort of things that I end up watching on BBC4 about, I think it was called The Secret Life of Crosswords or something.
Right, yeah.
And essentially it was just about the sort of professional compilers, this very small community of very clever people. And there was something just intrinsically very funny and very charming about a group of people who had sort of committed their lives to having fun, like just indulging in something that they love, but taking it so seriously. And I was fascinated in it. And I was particularly interested in, there was a female compiler who was a sort of, a woman in a man's world. I think her name was Ruth Crisp. And she's not the sort of inspiration for Pippa, but I definitely was interested in the idea of a woman in the heart of that world. And so, there's a sort of very strong female protagonist in my book called Pippa, who ultimately sort of sets up the fellowship and brings together a group of her friends that are puzzle makers, and ultimately they end up living together.
Do you like a cryptic crossword? Do you sometimes tackle them?
So I have. I've tried my best, and what I did actually attempt to have the cryptic crossword in this book. So there's a crossword that sort of forms part of the novel, and so you can you can read and play along as you go. Some of the sort of themes of the book unfold through the clues. And we had a huge debate about whether that should be a cryptic crossword or a quick crossword. And interestingly, one thing I learned was that in America, they don't have cryptic crosswords at all. Yeah. It's not a thing. So I knew that I was definitely going to have to do a different version for America. But in the end, what I actually decided is that it had to be led by the characters. And what I found was that Clayton, who's the young man at the heart of the story, what's sort of unique about him is that he isn't a puzzle maker like me. He's the odd one out, really, because he's the one that has sort of earned his place through chance rather than through his brains, and he sort of reflects on that in the book.
He's clearly picked things up vicariously, hasn't he? But he's not, not like a super puzzle person. Yeah.
Exactly. And so I think I decided that what I really would like is just a moment in the story to reflect that. I think there's a line in the first chapter which is him sort of saying he's never been great at crosswords. And actually, what I've managed to do is actually, with the crossword that is sort of bequeathed to him through his adoptive mother, she's done a quick crossword.
Yeah, she's made it a little bit easier.
He wouldn't stand a chance with the cryptic. And actually, that is exactly what she would have done.
Because I was trying to work it out like a cryptic crossword to start with, and I was thinking that, oh no, the first couple of clues come up and then they're not cryptic. And it's like, I get why that is. That makes sense. But I still like it. I like the idea, because I do like a puzzle and a crossword and stuff. So I think it works really nicely, that.
I tell you what's lovely to read, actually, is there's a really brilliant blog on The Guardian, which is the sort of compiler sort of breaking down some of the clues. And sometimes you think, my God, I could never have got that. But actually just sort of reading about how a clue is broken down and how they've come about creating it is kind of brilliant.
They are amazing. They're very
clever. I really enjoyed reading all those.
I read a book by Colin Dexter. My mum's always done cryptic crosswords, so she kind of taught me a little bit about them, but then I ended up reading a Colin Dexter book on how to solve them. But it takes me forever to do them, but I love them.
I remember when I did do one, and when I was probably about 13, 14, and it took me absolutely ages. And I remember finishing it at like 3 a.m. When you sort of like get to the point where you think, oh no, I've got too far now, I can't abandon this. I do actually have to finish it. But it was like, probably one of the proudest moments of my life.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I don't think of it. Well, I tried to do one once at school. we spent about a week trying to do one, and then gave up and did Bamboozle, the quiz on CFAX instead, which is a lot easier.
Unless you press the wrong button by mistake.
Oh, God.
And then it scans around the numbers forever, and then you've got to wait because it was on page 5
Absolutely.
of
I think,
7 or something.
See, we're sounding old at heart now, aren't we?
CFAX meant.
Talking about CFAX.
Sam probably doesn't even know what that is.
Do you know what I do? I do it.
It was like the internet, but only with red, green, yellow, and blue options.
Yeah, 4 buttons.
You used to book holidays. People used to book holidays.
Amazing for holidays.
And you'd have to sit there for ages, wouldn't you? Watching for the pages to flip
deals.
around. You go, what was that? Press the pause. There was like a pause button, wasn't it?
Last minute deals.
You'd always miss it.
We've booked it. Where are we going? I've no idea. It's scrolled on, but we're going anyway. Pack a bag.
There are quite a few games mentioned. Sorry, I'm going back to the Fellowship of Puzzlemakers. There are quite a few games mentioned that have been made up by the characters. But there's one mentioned quite early on called Fictionary. And I was wondering, Sam, is that a real game? Or did you just come up with the name and think that sounds like a
Fiction
game?
read does exist.
Oh, does
and I
it?
think it's sort of, there are various forms
Okay.
of fiction read. I think that's the when they're playing in the very early chapters, when they're in sort of the parlour and they're sort of playing sort of parlour games.
That's it.
It does exist, and yes, there's a sort of unusual blend of sometimes referring to puzzles that people will know, and sometimes referring to a puzzle that's a bit like something they might know, so they sort of understand how it sort of works. And then there's stuff that's completely unique. There's a maze, actually, that sort of hedgerow maze that we've sort of designed. The brilliant design team at my publishers have sort of created in paper form, which acts as a sort of like header for the second part of the book. But then we give the solution sort of towards the end. It spells out a word, which is quite significant to the book. So it was a real challenge. And I think writing any book is a bit like a jigsaw. You know, you're trying to find the right places for everything, and you're moving stuff around. But with this one, it was something else really. I remember thinking to myself, what have I done? You know, it's hard enough. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, you've added an extra layer,
An extra layer
for yourself. But I'm really enjoying it. I'm about halfway through, but enjoying
Thank you. I'm really glad you're enjoying it.
It really does sort of drag you in right from the start, and it's a very sort of easy to read style as well.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think you have a particular kind of writing style, or is it still very much in development at this stage?
It's so interesting. It's actually been one of my favourite things about this process is getting feedback and listening to, particularly just from readers, you know, how they're reacting and how they're responding to the book. And there's no like huge surprises. I always knew my book was going to be hopefully uplifting. I think that's in my nature. I like things that make you feel better about the world, particularly at the minute. I think that's something we all sort of need. But I think just seeing sort of the sort of key words that I'm noticing that keep popping up in reviews, and uplifting is definitely one of them. And I think I always wanted to write a book that I obviously would want to read myself. And I like books that are entertaining. I want a book that you don't want to put down. You want to stay with the characters, and it shouldn't feel like homework. But at the same time, I really do take a lot of care in the writing and spend an awful lot of time editing. I mean, just crazy amounts. If I can delete a word from a sentence, it gives me so much pleasure. I cannot tell you. So just always stripping out words and trying to keep sentences as succinct and yet as sort of powerful as they were before.
Yeah. And what's that from? Is that from just the kind of stuff that you read, or where?
I think it comes from TV.
Right. Okay.
I think it comes from writing so many proposals where it took me a long time to get the hang of it, and I basically learned that most people, particularly in television, have no attention span, and so you just have to hook them in immediately. So I used to have a boss who, you know, in conversation, if I was pitching an idea to her, if I didn't sort of explain what the idea was in 7 seconds, she'd switched off. She was not interested. So I got the hang of sort of being quite succinct with words and trying to grab people's attention.
Yeah.
And so I think it's probably a bit of that sort of come off in my writing. I should say that my writing, I was always in unscripted TV, so it was different. It wasn't like I was writing scripts. I was always writing proposals.
But just having that picture of your boss kind of looking over your shoulder at something else, it's quite good, isn't it? It's quite a good training ground, really.
Absolutely, yeah. If you're listening, thank you very much.
Thanks for that, yeah.
I still think he was really brave writing a book about puzzles when he admits that he's not much of a puzzler.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it will attract people that know their puzzles.
That's true, yeah. Because I was hoping for a little bit more of that, probably, in the book. But he's kept it to a kind of... Because I suppose the character himself isn't really a puzzler, and that's how he gets away with it.
Yes.
It actually works quite well.
Yeah, I
so
guess so.
So the puzzles that his kind of foster mother, his adopted mother, comes up with are actually a little bit more simple. But I suppose for most people that's probably quite good, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just an area that's ripe for pedantry, really, isn't it?
That's it. No, if you did it properly.
Exactly,
actually. No, you're better off just
that's
doing
true,
the popular edition, I think, for that. Yeah.
But I can recommend it as it's an uplifting and intriguing, very sweet and charming story. So if that is your kind of source, then have a look at the show notes.
I'm thinking from your tone of voice there, John, you've forgotten that we've actually got the second bit of the interview still to play.
Oh, yeah. I have. Should we...
Sounded very final. Sounded very wrapping it all up.
Yeah.
So we should probably listen to the rest of the interview. But you can do your little book plug bit. I said book plug bit after we've heard the next bit. And in this next bit, I love the bit where he's doing a course at the Faber Academy, and there's a lovely bit about how they have to kind of go out onto the streets and find inspiration to write characters and stuff. Yeah. And Samuel hits upon an absolute goldmine. It's brilliant.
So I had watched this documentary about crossword compilers, and that was in my head. It really was. I'd started writing another novel, only a few thousand words of another book that I abandoned, but it was about an older lady who had won millions playing bridge, the card game bridge. Right. And there was something really nice about it, and I knew I wanted to write an older character. I knew I liked the idea of games and sort of trying to include a bit of gameplay within the prose. But I watched that documentary about crossword compilers, and I thought, oh, this could be it. This is so charming and so funny, and I'm just instantly very, interested in it. And then I think it was probably week 4 or 5 of Faber. Sarah, our tutor, was doing a character building sort of exercise with us, and she sent us outside around Bloomsbury just to go, and in her words, spy on someone. She wanted us just to, and not just spy, but actually follow. So there was people that literally followed random strangers onto tube trains. I mean, literally, and went all the way up to, Tottenham Court Road or whatever. But I felt uncomfortable with that. So I went into just a cafe that was next to Faber. And I thought, I'll just sit here and, find someone that's interesting and write about them. And as I was literally getting my pen and paper out, these 4 men walked in, all wearing anoraks, and one of them was carrying a brass bell, and the other one had like a whole wad of magazines and newspapers. And then I was just watching them, and I looked at them, and I heard one of them go, "Right, Alan, do you want to go at 4 across?" And they were a crossword club, and they were these 4 men that just met up in this cafe and did the crossword together. And every time someone got an answer right, they'd ting the bell.
I was about to ask where the bell came in. Oh, really?
Yeah, the bell. I think it was just for a bit of fun. I don't know what the bell was for.
Do you think they turned up there for like the first time and they got an answer right and there was no sound, and one of them said, "Do you know what? Do you know what this club needs? A bell."
Do you know what this is missing? It's a brass bell. I think it must have been. It was so joyful, and it was the weirdest thing was I had to then go back to the class to sort of explain who I'd followed. And a few weeks before, I'd sort of pitched the idea of Puzzlemakers. I pitched the idea of a group of older people living together, all quite, brilliant, sharp-minded people. And I had to go back and I had to say, "Oh, I've just bumped into a crossword club next door." And everyone's just like, "Oh,
of course you
exactly." But the thing is, I actually took a photo, right? And I know I shouldn't have done this, GDPR and that, but I took a photo of these 4 men, right? And it's not a great photo, but I've used it all the way through my publishing journey. It helped me get my agent. I've used it as part of the story of like how this book came to be. And so I do have a photo of 4 men in anoraks in this grotty little cafe.
That's brilliant.
Doing the crossword together.
Yeah, got an agent. Ting! Got the publisher right.
Pass me my bell.
I'd say that bell must have been going off like nobody's business, because you're on a roller coaster. Well, hopefully not a roller coaster, because those come down at some rate as well. You're on the way up. A rocket ride.
Oh God, it's only one way. Yeah, one way down.
I mean, whatever keeps going up and stays going up, that's what you're on, Samuel.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Well, I like the sound of that. I mean, it has been mad, and it's been. It's happened over a long period of time, though. I mean, when I say a long period, I signed my book deal in 2022. I mean, I know it doesn't sound like longer, but, in terms of the process of waiting for my book to come out, I've been waiting for a few years now. And, it's been a roller coaster. It's been kind of brilliant. But I think, I'm not going to complain because I know how incredibly lucky I am. But it does bring with it its own sort of pressures.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because they've really put a lot behind you, haven't they?
Yeah, no, they've been amazing.
From everything, from covers to exposure. It does put a little bit of pressure on your shoulders.
I feel like I've got to live up to that, and I don't want to let people down.
That's what I mean, yeah.
But I have to say the team have been fantastic, and I'm very lucky to have, a fantastic team around me who are incredibly supportive and unbelievably passionate about this book and this story. And I think
that comes across in all the communications and stuff that I've seen about it.
Yeah, no, they're fantastic. Yeah, really, really good. There was a lovely moment where, so essentially, when it sold at an auction. So it meant that I got the chance to meet different publishers, which was really lovely. I think otherwise it's mostly done on email. But Orion, to give them their credit, they were absolutely incredible. They were every publisher was fantastic in the auction, I should say, absolutely incredible. But Orion actually emailed me a puzzle. Yeah. And the solution was the Old Queen's Head, midday Wednesday. And so it was the solution was the invite to their meeting. And so the Old Queen's Head is, in the first couple of chapters, you learn that Pippa has sort of gathered her friends in this room above a pub in Islington called the Old Queen's Head. I used to live just up the road, so it was like conveniently, put in because it was a place that I knew quite well. And Orion the publisher booked the pub for the meeting. So I turned up with my agent, and I remember thinking, God, this is going to be a bit embarrassing. It's going to be me, my agent, and an editor in an empty pub at midday on a Wednesday. This could be quite, But I turned up, and there must have been 10 of them from the publisher. They built a maze of books around the bar of all their books to sort of show off their work. They'd made pub coasters, beer mats with Fellowship of Puzzlemakers on. They had like signs saying, session 1 this way. It was kind of just, I remember like being because it was the first meeting I had as well. I was so staggered and so overwhelmed that I just spent the next hour in the meeting just in silence, just staring. And they must have thought, oh, actually, he's a bit dim.
And the most amazing thing was that there were just 4 old blokes wearing anoraks with a bell. Oh, you again.
It was an amazing moment.
Yeah.
They built the hat box that Clayton as a baby arrives in. They had that, and they'd even like gone to the trouble of like finding the right floral paper for the lining of it. So, I mean, it was
I'm no expert at reading signs myself, but I think they probably quite like you, Sam. That's the general gist of it, isn't it?
Well, it was overwhelming because I really felt like it was one of the first times, actually, and one of the most amazing parts of this whole experience is hearing people talk about the characters that you've made that have been in your head for years.
Yeah.
Like people talking about them, the people you don't know, and you kind of think, how do you know this? It's sort of this weird feeling like, where have you got that from? But they'd all, I mean, I'm talking all the way up from managing director down to, the publicity, marketing, sales, everyone in that meeting, they'd all read the book and they'd all had their favourite characters and they all had their favourite scenes. And I just couldn't really say no. They were just so impressive.
He would have been embarrassed to go. Anyway, thanks for that, guys. It's a big fat no from me.
I'll take the hat box.
Can I keep that? And that's pretty cool. Using the Pomodoro method of interviewing, I can't noticing that we've got about 2 minutes left before you're either incarcerated or ejected.
Well, I mean, 2 minutes until the caretaker comes around shaking his keys, but actually it does close at 9.
Is that last orders?
That's last orders. Last orders.
Right.
All right, good. But you got to get down 5 flights of stairs.
Exactly.
We'll be all right.
So what you say about the pressure then is that you said about working on the second book. How are you handling that? Are you just kind of ignoring it and cracking on, or? I'm
sort of trying. I mean, the thing that's the real struggle at the minute is learning how to write in a completely different way. Because at the minute, I'm doing lovely things like this, doing podcasts and interviews and getting emails from the publisher about various things that need to go in the diary and things I need to respond to. And so it's sort of being able to get your head into a new book, a new world, new characters, while all of that stuff is happening at the same time, and that's probably the biggest challenge.
Yeah. And is it completely new, book 2? Is it not in the same universe?
Yeah, completely. Yeah.
But in a similar, I'm guessing a similar kind of thing, genre, style.
No, I'm not going to be writing crime noir. No. I'm not doing anything too different. I hope if people enjoyed the first one, they'll hopefully enjoy the second.
It'd be silly to go too far off piste, wouldn't it? Yeah. So there you go.
That's
the lovely Samuel
He's still
Burr.
lovely. Isn't he still lovely? Isn't he
He's
still
lovely after all this time.
Yes, talking about his book there, which I have read and I can recommend.
Yeah, you can do the plug now because the interview's actually finished.
As a lovely, uplifting, very charming story. So if that's your
now
kind
that
of
is,
thing.
I recommended that one to my mum.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the kind of things you should be sharing around the church group.
Yes, that's a wholesome...
That's way more appropriate. Yeah. So if that's your kind of thing, then check out the show notes and get yourself a copy.
They've probably already got a copy.
They probably
I would
have by
imagine.
now.
Yeah.
To be fair.
From the sales
it's been
figures.
out for a couple of weeks, hasn't it?
I think everyone has.
I think
everyone's got one.
Everyone has one.
Yeah.
Buy your second copy of the book using the link in the show notes.
Yeah.
Do you chaps like a puzzle, don't you? Have you ever tried to tackle a cryptic crossword?
Well, not really, no, because it's got all those stupid rules in it. So it's not just about working out the clue as such. It's knowing that if it mentions something, then it means that's at the start of some other word, or that's something to do with flying, or if it's got that in, then it's a horticultural term. I'm like, I can't remember all these different rules.
Yeah.
That's how it works, isn't it?
Not really, Tom, no. But you're right. No, you're right. I think there are roughly like 12 types of clue.
Right.
Some of which can be combined as well. So you can sort of have double kinds of clue, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But I think you'd bloody love them, Tom. You know, we had I can't remember which episode. Oh, it was the punning episode. We were talking about you were quite good at catchphrase back in the day.
Yeah.
But it's not that dissimilar in a way. They're quite punny and kind of, it's wordplay, isn't it? But I was thinking, if you fancy like just a quick sort of dive into cryptic crosswords for the next few minutes, I could give you the sort of basic chunk of information that you need to tackle a cryptic crossword.
Go on then.
Do you fancy that?
Yeah.
Or would you like me to shut up?
No, go on. Yeah.
John, have you invented an entirely new form of crossword clue?
I have not.
Oh,
I have not.
All right.
This is your standard cryptic crossword.
John's standard cryptic crossword.
I am
time.
absolutely in no way an expert, so some of this might be total bollocks, but most of it, I'm pretty sure. I've done quite a few in my time, and this is how I understand it. Okay. So, starting at the beginning, the clue word, the word that is basically a synonym of the word you're looking for, is usually found either at the beginning of the clue or at the end, as in the first or last word, right?
Okay.
There are some exceptions to this, but that's most often the case, right? There are roughly 12 kinds of clue, which, like I said before, they can be combined. But a lot of the time, you're looking for clues for interpreting, like you were saying, Tom, you're looking for clues for interpreting the kind of clue that it is. So if it's an anagram clue, you get phrases like messed up.
Mixed up.
Yeah.
This is what I mean.
Or out. Or tortured. Or drunk.
In a spin.
Yeah, there you go. So it's quite easy to find them. And actually, I usually tackle the anagrams first because they're quite easy to do because you get the actual word, but it's just mixed up.
Did John just explain what an anagram was to us, Dave? Do you feel slightly patronised? Is it just me?
I think, a little bit.
But my point being, it won't be like a synonym of, it'll be the actual word, is what I was trying to say.
So that'll be either the first word or the last word, but it won't be a synonym. It'll be the actual word, but an anagram, or a short phrase, 2 words that is the anagram of the word that you're looking for.
Yeah, you'll get a clue word at the beginning and the end, which is the synonym.
You've lost me now. I'm doing the tea break quickie.
The more I'm saying this, the more I realise that it is actually quite complicated, isn't it?
So, like, if the clue was
dog in a spin might be God, right? Is that what I'm saying?
Exactly that.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's obvious which words you're looking at and which ones you have to mix up.
Right, okay.
Are you with me?
Yeah.
Here's an anagram clue for you that I've made up, especially for you. Awfully predictable that oxygen and iodine are found here, right? So the awfully...
Whoa. How is that an anagram?
Why?
clue?
Why
Where's
is
the
it
clue that it's an
awfully?
anagram?
What's that got to do with anything?
Because the word awfully means that the word after it, predictable, is going to be an anagram.
Why? Why does that mean that?
Because you're looking for words that are kind of like wrong or messed up. So it's a clue word. So awfully predictable means that you mess up predictable, you unravel predictable. So that is your anagram, the word predictable.
What was the second part?
But it goes on to say that oxygen and iodine are found here. Now, another part of...
So is it periodic?
Periodic table.
Right.
Brilliant.
Right.
8 and 5. Because the extra letters O and I are also...
what? Where?
Oh, because they're the
If you
symbols
take
for
predictable
oxygen
and add an O and an I for
Right.
oxygen and iodine, then you get enough letters for periodic table.
Oh,
So that's the other thing that
yeah.
is kind of... In fact, I find that the hardest bit. You get abbreviations in cryptic crossword clue.
Yes, that was the other thing I was going to complain about. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's just a little insight, but you get the kind of gist. But then you'll get words like backwards, and that will tell you that you have to flip a word backwards.
That makes sense.
In basic terms, it's sort of telling you what you've got to do. But yeah, those abbreviations are really tricky because you kind of just have to learn them.
I see. Yeah, you put me off now.
There are quite a few. There's stuff like if you see very loud in a crossword clue, there's a good chance that it's FF, which is fortissimo,
right? Yeah,
in sheet music. But here's like a classic one. This is like a classic sort of sandwich clue that sort of explains itself. So 6 years in Holland is a record. 5 letters. So the way you break this down, 6. What's another way of writing 6 in letters?
VI.
VI. Brilliant. So VI. Years is an abbreviation. Y.
Because it's shorter?
Yeah.
That's why. I was just answering your question.
No, I see what you mean. Yeah. Why?
Sorry, John's in serious mode, and he won't be laughing at any jokes at this point.
No.
Let's just do the clue.
Right. So 6
VIY.
years. VI and a Y, but it says in Holland, right?
VIY Netherlands.
How do you shorten Holland?
Give some of it to Belgium.
How do you shorten Netherlands?
NL.
NL. There you go. So 6 years. So you get 6 VI. Years is in Holland. So the Y goes into NL. Is a record.
Vinyl.
Wow. There you go. So it's like a little dingbat. It's like a little word.
Yeah. Do you get
puzzle.
a prize for doing a crossword?
I think if you are the first person to do it, you do.
You do. You can send. You do, and then you send them off. You get like massive dictionaries or picnic baskets and all sorts of things, Dave. Wow. Well, I think we've all learned something there.
I was thinking when I said that would make absolute sense, and you guys would be like, "Oh, that's brilliant! I'm going to have a go now." That's how I imagined that going down.
I'm thinking, didn't Samuel do well to make an interesting book out of this?
I think he did very well to avoid going too far down that route.
He made absolutely the right decision, didn't he?
Completely.
But they are great. I think you'd like him, Tom. I think if you read a book on...
Yeah, I think that's the thing. It's those in between, knowing, all the little shortcutty things that were just a bit annoying.
Yeah, once you get all that, though, it's, they're hard.
Yeah, I imagine once you know all that, it'd be really easy.
Well, that's it. Exactly. Because you know that words like court are just the letter C.
What?
Because in cricket, you get a little C next to. So they're the kind of abbreviations. But there's loads of quite obscure ones.
That's ridiculous.
But you just have to kind of know all that stuff. But there are like quirky ones as well that actually don't follow any other rules. There's one called a double meaning clue. And it basically means you get 2 definitions of a word and you're looking for a word that means both those things. So, for example, plays with strings, 7 letters, is sort of on first glance you might think, oh, plays with strings, kittens. But it's a double meaning clue where plays with is one clue and strings is another. But they both mean the same thing. So you're looking for a word that means both plays with and strings. Fiddles with strings. Plays with strings.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that with everyone, John.
You're very welcome. And if you want to join my my crossword club, anyone,
can you explain the rules to another game to us next week?
Snap.
Perhaps make a feature of it, a little theme tune.
Yeah, John explains.
Yeah,
it'd be a whole spin-off podcast, couldn't it? Just John,
really good.
Just John explaining things. Yeah, I like it. In a way, it's quite good that because you've saved me a lot of time of ever bothering to try and do a cryptic crossword.
Yeah, there you go.
So that's good.
Well, I should probably say this week, thanks for listening, everybody.
Thank you so much. Really,
thanks for listening to this
listening.
Bonus
Especially
episode.
to this point. I can't believe you made it, to be honest. Well done, well done. One last little thing before we go. I forgot something.
You've left your oven on?
There is what looks like a brilliant thing on the Writers HQ website. It's Write a Novel Month. And it's running from the 1st of June to Sunday, 30th of June. So you've missed the start of this if you're listening when this podcast goes out. But there's a whole month of brilliant stuff like masterclasses and write-alongs and everything to kind of get you up and running with a novel.
Very good.
But they've even got our mate Samuel Burr on Thursday, the 13th of June, talking about introductions and hooks. And they've got Emma Healy as well on Thursday, the
friends of the
27th
show.
of June, talking about editing. So if you fancy a bit of that,
Sounds good.
have a look on the show notes, all the details there. I'm definitely going to be getting involved in that, so I might see you there if you fancy it.
That'll be good.
So, yeah, that's all I wanted to say. Carry on.
Well, you said carry on. You were going to tell us who was on next week.
Yeah.
Who's on next week?
Next week, we've got Mike Gale, Poplit Master, coming to join us and talk about his career and his books and stuff like that. So, yeah.
I
see you
look
next
forward
week.
to that immensely.
Good. So do I.
Cheerio, everyone.
See ya.
Take care. Thank you. Bye.
Welcome to Serendipitous Sound, sir.
Oh, yeah, hi.
When you need a noise, we are your boys. Still working on the strapline. Come in. How can I help you?
I'm putting a sketch together for a podcast, and I need a fortuitous but highly improbable bell sound. You got anything like that?
Ooh, let's have a little look-see, shall we?
Your keyboard makes an odd noise.
Yeah, part of our new shopkeeper range. Makes the boomers feel more at home.
Oh, yeah, I suppose it does. Yeah.
Here we go. What about this one?
No, I'm sorry, it's not quite right.
Not to worry. Plenty more where that came from. Oh, we got a few of these left over from Halloween.
No. It's got to be more happy. Well, not that happy.
Oh, well, how happy?
Well, when you just know it. Oh, bloody hell. Do you know what? I haven't done a sketch in ages. And I wanted this to be really lit. You having a laugh?
If I am, I'd be the only one.
What do you mean by that?
Look, forget it. We did have these 4 blokes come in the other day asking what sound... You'll laugh at this. Asking what sound a crossword made. Nice fellas, in the end, they took one of these.
That's it. That is perfect. How much?
£5.
Oh, bargain. Hang on, let me just get my wallet out and I'll have a... Oh, I'm really sorry, but I'm afraid I don't have any money.
Do you know what? Forget it. Have it on the house.
Seriously? Oh, mate, you are an angel. Honestly, thank you so much. This is going to be great. I gotta go. I gotta tell the lads. All right, bye.
Oh, honestly. What a complete blend.
Hello?
Where's everybody gone?